Hi, everybody. This is Kathy L. Murphy, the Pulpit Queen. I'm reporting live from my little cabin in the woods, Murphy's Law. And I have with me tonight Ruthie Landis from Chicago, who is as crazy about films as I am. Robert Waltney will not be here tonight because his book just came out, The Cicada Tree, and he had today in his hometown, the library had a full crowd for him for his debut novel. So he's on cloud nine right now, and I'm so happy for Robert. But I'm thrilled that Ruthie's here because Ruthie's seen the movie along with me, and I've only seen this movie once. And usually I watch a movie, I pick movies that I've seen many, many times. But the minute I saw this movie, I said, oh my gosh, teachers have been the most important people in my life. And I know you're going to agree. Teachers and librarians. And this young woman, her name is Rani Murkeji, and I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but she's an Indian actress and she's been in a zillion films with all the greats, all the Khans, Shah Rukh Khan, Amir Khan, all of them, Salman Khan. She's quite the actress in India, but I do believe that this is her greatest role, and it was done in 2018. And this story is about a young girl who finishes college, and she has had to battle her whole life with Tourette's. And I don't know if you know what Tourette's syndrome is, but it is a devastating, it's nothing wrong with your intelligence. You just you say things or have tics or make noises or that you can't control. And you see it sometimes with people with, that have other disabilities, health disabilities like muscular dystrophy. Sometimes people I have a friend that their son, when he gets excited, he makes strange noises and people get freaked out. But I had an author who had Tourette's. And so I thought this movie was fascinating. And Ruthie, what was your take on it for your first time of watching it?
Well, first of all, I want to talk about Tourette's a little bit more. Actually, everything's on a spectrum.
Yes.
So lots of people with Tourette's are incredibly creative people. If you read a lot about it, like there's one story I remember that this neurologist wrote. That he wrote wonderful stories of unusual neurological I don't want to call it, like styles, they call it now neurodiversity. And yeah. And so this guy was a drummer. And when they would put him on the medication to kind of suppress it, he couldn't drum.
Man.
So he would sometimes use the medication depending on where he was. And but he would, when he was in his musicianship, I mean, because there's a disinhibition that comes along with it. So as you saw this beautiful portrayal of this woman, I mean, she was beautiful, she was vibrant, she was creative and innovative and so smart. And then she had these tics. I have a very dear friend who was in the original production of Hair on Broadway.
Oh my gosh.
And he has Tourette's. He's a wonderful actor, a wonderful singer. And everybody's comes out a little differently. His is a little cough, a little kind of cough that he's able to manage. But a very hard story was a friend of mine's daughter. I watched her growing up with it, and hers was a very extreme case. And it so much so that, if I would come and bring my table and try to do a table session with her, to just try to see if I could help her relax, because it gets exacerbated if you are under stress. Honestly, her stomach would ripple almost like there was something alive in her stomach. And she would have these tics, but she would bark, she would all kinds of things. Well, this amazing young woman who so smart, so vibrant. I mean, they wouldn't let her be in the schools, and she got sent away to another school. It was the best thing that ever happened to her, because she's got, I think, at least 1 or 2 master's degree, and she's a stand-up comedian, and she uses Tourette's as, she talks about Tourette's and is funny about it and uses it to teach. And she travels the country, um, teaching at colleges about Tourette's syndrome and about other mental illnesses. And this is not a mental illness exactly. It fits kind of on the continuum of people who have ADD or ADHD. It's on the same neurological continuum.
It's not like autism or anything like
Not
that.
at all.
Not at
No.
all.
Well, but there's this neurological diversity, and there can be some very mild ADD, and then often people with Tourette's will have some ADD, but they're creative and all that. And then now autism, the spectrum of autism is so vast now, that what we used to think of somebody having autism or being they didn't even call it on the spectrum then. Now many people in your life who you would not know, who maybe seemed a little socially anxious to you, and who are doctors and lawyers, are on the spectrum, autistic spectrum, and you would never know it, and for a while they called it Asperger's. So what I want to say about it is, what I thought was so amazing of how they portrayed it, her work, was that at a certain point, now her tic, because they did a flashback of her when she was little, her tic seemed to be very consistent. A lot of times over the years, people who have Tourette's, it will change, right? It isn't always the same, but hers was the same. She did her head would flip. I mean, this young woman who I'm telling you about, who's going around, I mean, she's broke bones in her body, because it just takes you over. But you're amazing in so many other ways. So this woman, I think, captured the force of the creativity, the disinhibition, the ability to stay optimistic in terms of being special in her own way. And what I loved most about the film, when you asked me, besides her performance, which
Incredible.
she at no point acted like a victim. She played against that victim role, and she was like, this is who I am. But when then she gets thrust into this school where nobody will hire her, except they hire her at this school on a temporary basis, and they give her these kids from the slums, and they don't even want those kids. In India, there is a caste system that still exists. Not that there isn't here, because I think that there is here too.
Out there. Yeah.
It's not called that.
No.
But it exists. It's kind of subliminal, it's underneath. But anyway, I loved how she said we all have Tourette's in some way. We all have something we carry with us that sets us apart, and that makes us unique and makes us special. And these kids, were really victims, and they were really angry, and they were really treated so poorly. And she transforms them out of acceptance and love and her own creativity. And so it wasn't just about Tourette's at all. It was about personal growth. It was about the guy who was the bad guy who was so against
Oh
her.
my gosh, talk about
A transformation.
In this guy. It's just like, we don't think that we can learn at a certain age. We think, I've learned more probably in the past 2 years during COVID than I've learned in my entire life. But what I loved about it, and the only thing I can compare it to is, I've seen 2 other movies and they were outstanding, is To Sir with Love with Sidney Poitier, which I think was another, but his and I don't want to use the word handicap, but he was African American, and he was going into this school to teach these English children. And it's an iconic film. And then there is another Indian film I want you to watch. It's called Tar Zameen Par, and it's a story about a little boy. I've watched it like 4 times. I've had my kids watch it. We all just cry. A little boy is having a terrible time in school, and he can't figure out why, but he's artistic. And it isn't until this new art teacher that's kind of hired like this girl as a temporary, he sees something in this kid and he figures it out. And I'm not going to tell what's wrong, but he changes the kid's whole life. And it'll just make me cry. And Amir Khan stars in it. And this little boy, he's probably grown up now. It's one of the best films on education I've ever seen. And I think this film is too, because what it's telling us is we're not cookie cutters. You can't just say, this kid needs to be taught this way, this kid needs to be taught the same way. That everybody learns at different levels and stuff. And when my daughter started school, I read to her from the time she was born. By the time she started school, she knew how to read. And she came home and said, well, that was interesting. She's in kindergarten. She goes, that was interesting. But mother, she goes, I don't think I'll be going back. I already know all this stuff. And I said, you're absolutely right. You do know that stuff. But a lot of these kids didn't have a parent that read to them like I did to you. And so what I would like you to think about is when you go back, that you volunteer to help with the other kids. And her teacher's name was Miss Wright, which is perfect. She called me in. She said, oh my goodness, Lainey is a wonderful student. She's helping all the other little kids, and she's still that way. She's a great teacher. And but I love the fact that teachers recognize when somebody's falling behind or somebody's too far ahead. We have to work in a way that they can all work together, because separating out
here's the problem that I really appreciated about the film too, because she makes a comment, there are no bad students, there are only bad teachers, and I think it's really hard to be a teacher. Especially here, and it highlighted it there too. Everything was stacked against her. Everything was meant, they wanted to get rid of these slum kids. They didn't want them there. How apropos is that here in America as well, and they were setting her up to fail. And the principal at least was moved by her. He saw the
spark in her,
But imagine really, she was in a position where she took those kids outside. She taught them physics and math in terms of the things they already knew in their lives, like cooking or recipes for chemistry or basketball or whatever. And she allowed herself to take them and teach them outside, to take them away on field trips, etc. And just imagine if you're a teacher, at least I know here in America, it is not easy. It is so not easy.
You can't be alone with the kids like that. You cannot. It's, I did youth groups for years, and I wouldn't do it for a million years now, because the kids have so many issues that I'm not trained to deal with, and so, but I'm inspired by teachers. I have said this from day one, the highest profession in the country should be teachers. Yeah, because
there are other countries that is true. I mean, Finland continues to be the #1 educational system in the world. Do you know that?
Yeah.
And you know what, how different their educational system is? It's not about tests. They are done with school by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They don't have, they really have hardly any homework, but everything they learn is through experiential learning.
I
And
agree.
all of the research shows, so this is what just blows my mind, because I'm an experiential workshop I know that if the body is learning at the same time as the head, like this was in the film, she did that with them, it stays with you forever instead of memorizing something for a test. And the
Memorizing
research,
doesn't work for me. It
no,
doesn't.
and real, and you know what's the you have to be moving and be moved. And she did that with them. And the research shows that retention of knowledge is like 90% if it's experiential learning. And if it's lecture or memorization, it's about 10% retention. Because when you're learning experientially, there's mind in all of your body, right? And so it's remember, and she knew that. And she even knew that about her own body. Like, imagine your body is constantly not, she didn't ever make her body her enemy.
She actually embraced
She did.
what she said. I think it makes me who I am today. I just, I
And
am so,
didn't you feel after a while, I mean, this is where I thought her brilliance was. Didn't you think that after a while it became almost melodic or almost dance-like? There was in the beginning, it was intrusive, it was disturbing, but over time, she kind of used it to accentuate a moment or something like that. And then the kids were doing rap, right?
right.
And they joined into her tics to make,
Oh,
do you remember that scene?
wait till you see Tar Zameen Par, because this art teacher is brilliant. He's brilliant. It's just, and evidently, well, I'm not going to tell you anything more because I don't want to ruin it for you. But this movie is one that I think if you showed it to everybody who was going into teaching, they would be inspired.
Yeah, I
And they
agree.
would start thinking a little bit outside the box. And I know how hard it is, though, to buck the system because they want you to do it just like whatever, like the new math. I mean, I remember my kids would come home from school and they'd say, I need help with my math. And they're in the second and third grade. I go, what do we got here? This worksheet. I go, I read the problem and I go, where's your book? Where's your book? And they go, oh, we don't have books. I go, what do you mean you don't have books? I go, well, how do you solve the problem if you can't look at the book? Well, we learned, they show it to us in class and I go, how am I supposed to help? This isn't the way I learned how to do math. I went up and talked to him about it and I said, I need a book to help my kids figure out their homework. And they go, well, if they're paying attention in class, they'll get it. I go, I don't think that's necessarily true because for me, for learning something, like when I was in plays and stuff, it took me a lot longer to memorize roles than most people because I have to have it like 5 times before it's rote. So I go, I don't think that's necessarily, maybe with somebody really bright, but I don't consider myself anything more than average. It takes me and I can't figure it out. And I talked to other mothers and they said the same thing. We can't figure it out. So what do you do? I mean, what do you do when, and then,
Well, you need teachers like her who are brave enough to buck the system. And it's so hard, but in my practice as a therapist, do you know how many teachers that I've had who who do like early retirement in their 40s because they just can't stand the public school system.
well,
They
they're
do, they can't.
retiring left and right now because of COVID, because they can't do the kids aren't doing their homework. They're not doing the distance learning, and they're having, and they don't want to, you don't want to fail your whole class. So what do? It's time for, I mean, we've only had public school for a little over 100 years here in the United States.
Is that right?
100 years. So you think about it, it started out as one room school, all classes, all grades, the little older kids that help the little kids. My grandparents, who went to school just to the 8th grade, they knew math and English and spelling on college level because they really
Wanted to learn.
focused, and they said, well, they didn't graduate from high school. And I go, yeah, but my grandfather could do any figure in his head, any figure of any, and he never had algebra. So I think that it's a wonderful movie for discussion.
Yes, and I want to go follow what you just said. So there's your grandfather, and he could do all these figures in his head because he applied it to life practically. So what did she do? That was what she did. She knew these kids couldn't compete with the kids who came from wealthy families, etc., and that they were acting out all the time because they were belittled and demeaned. And so how did she get to them? She got to them through real life. Like, well, what is math and science if it isn't real life? What good is it? So now I'm going to get on a soapbox here. So my soapbox is, we've been in COVID, and all these kids have suffered from it.
Oh,
As have the teachers, but the kids especially. They've suffered emotionally, they've suffered intellectually, socially. They're just behind, right? And developmentally, like there's a 2-year gap. And instead of going, let's bring the best and the brightest teachers around and let them develop virtual learning that is so phenomenal. Let them, I have a client who says he designs video games. He says, like, why don't they hire people to like do all these video tours of museums all over the country, and everything could be exciting learning. Why don't we put our money in that? Why are we wasting our time on, I'm sorry, on algebra and geometry at certain points?
I got to grab this book here just a second. Keep talking.
No, but what I'm saying is like,
Yes.
and when what we need to be doing right now is taking that time and explaining to kids, can you hear the trees talking? Yes, like that. Or what's it like for you? What's it been like for you in COVID? Let's do some social and emotional teaching, and let's let algebra find its own way. I'm sorry.
This is a guy, he's written all these books, The Hidden Life of Trees.
Oh,
and he takes kids out into nature and he teaches them all about how trees work, how do trees breathe. That these kids are going to grow up with a love for nature.
Yes.
I want to do a story time.
And it's practical, and I know
it's what are trees afraid of? Do trees sleep at night? I mean, kids are going to be fascinated with this book. I love this guy. This is the Young Readers edition for The Hidden Life of Trees, which was a fabulous Pulpit Queen book. But his name's Peter Wolleben. And you know what? He looks like he's from, I'm trying to see where he's from, which you talked about. One of my favorite shows, he's from Ontario, but one of my favorite shows on Netflix, or one of those, is Rita. And it's either Finland or Norway. It's one of those countries. She's a teacher. She is not like any teacher I've ever seen. Mandy and I are so addicted. So we're always saying,
really, it's on Netflix. I will watch it.
Rita. And it's English subtitles, but I love her so much. She's got a lot of issues, and but she is a damn good teacher, and they know it. And she pretty much runs the school, but it's a little out there. So I said, they said, if there's one show on Netflix that you wish they'd do another series, I go, Rita. And it's so, Mandy's the one that gave me that book, says Rita Says No, because we quote her all the time from watching that show. But this is a good springboard into, this would be a great workshop for teachers.
It would be phenomenal.
And you could break it down. I read in the newspaper years ago, I think it was like the last year of my daughter, who was the youngest daughter in high school. And there was a Texas A&M professor who was a pilot, and he taught math and science. And he got a grant to fly his airplane into rural schools and do this innovative hands-on math and science thing and he was being paid by the grant, so it was no charge to the school. So I called him up at the university and I said, I'm a parent here in Jefferson, Texas. How could he goes, I would love to come to Jefferson. I've always wanted to go there. So I called the superintendent of schools and I said, school was almost over. I go, this guy got a grant to fly in. He teaches math and science and he will come into our school for free. I've got a building that we can bus the kids into, and they've got laptops and all the stuff they're going to do. And she said, we can't do that. We're in the final days of school. And I said, well, I'm going to tell you that my daughter comes home every day and she said, all you guys are doing is watching movies. And I said, so I'm going to say that's not acceptable. And I said, this guy is coming with a team of professors from Texas A&M on this date. And how many classes can we get there? I got him. And he flew in. I went and picked them all up at the airport and drove them to the convention center. And these kids were bussed in and they had a ball. And I love science, but I'm terrible at math, algebra. I'm good at math, but thinking outside the box. And who came up with that grant for this guy? He was brilliant. I'm trying to think of his name now, but it was a wonderful program, much like Peter, who's, doing this nature series. And now there's schools for children now that are all hands-on learning.
Yep, that's what I'm talking about.
My daughter's been listening to it.
Those kids that went to see that pilot, I bet you none of them have forgotten anything they learned that day.
I know they didn't, because he had it on a big screen. He goes, punch in what you think it is. And they had this, and it made little sounds and stuff. And they loved it.
Yep.
Of course, I was always bringing authors to the school and different people to the school. And they said, we can't do that. We're doing our STAR testing. And I go, we'll make this a reward. I would say that's just not, they didn't like me.
So don't you think you're a teacher too, Kathy?
I have always been a teacher. I mean,
Yeah.
Because I love teachers. In fact, when I was in the 5th grade, I loved my teacher so much I wanted to be a teacher. That is until I got to be a senior in high school. And my French teacher sent all of us out one semester to teach little kids French. And they gave me a blessing and a curse. They gave me the junior high special education class, which was the most fantastic experience of my life, because these kids were dying to learn. Then they gave me 5th and 6th graders. And, I hate to say this, but I had little a-holes. That's what they were. They were always trying to say, well, can you sing the national anthem for France for the class and teach it to us? And I said, well, no, I don't know that. Well, I do. And this boy stood up and sang it. And I'm going, I go, that's brilliant. His parents were both teachers. But I said, the thing about it is, a lot of you in this class, I'm just teaching you what I learned, from this course. And hopefully it'll be a springboard for you to take when you get in junior high French, like I did. I took 4 years of French all through school. And I said, but I thought after that experience, I thought, who wants to be a teacher? Every day it was just like, well, do you know?
Yeah, you wonder. What was beautiful about it is she could have, after she achieved her initial success, she could have moved on.
Yes.
but she stuck at that school for 20 years.
And then I'll tell you, everybody who hasn't watched the film, well, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but the ending.
Oh my God. Could you stop crying? Oh my God.
I had to run and go get some Kleenex. I'm just bawling my eyes out. It's just
I
like
know.
To Serve with Love. I heard that music start up, the music start up into Serve with Love, and I would just get chills. And I still get chills when I watch that film. But I really hope everybody watched this movie. I think
So
it's
do you think, I didn't read it, if Robert was here, he'd have all this background information for us. But was that based on a true story? Were those older people at the end real people? I thought they were.
it seems that way, but I don't remember reading anything about it. But I'll research it and I'll find out before next week. I will.
Because I really would like to know if if this was based on a true story, because it gave that feeling at the end, like, because you saw the little kids and then you saw adults, and I'm not giving away anything,
No, 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 no. In fact, some of the films I've got coming up is one of them is we're going to be watching My Dog Skip. Have you ever seen My Dog Skip?
No, I have not.
Well, it's a family film, and it's a story written by Willie Morris, one of my favorite authors in the whole. I never got to meet him. He died very young of, I think he had a heart attack. He was 54. He's from Yazoo City, Mississippi, but he went on to be the editor of one of the big magazines in New York. He was brilliant, brilliant. And he wrote My Dog Skip, but he also wrote Last of the Southern Girls and North Towards Home. And I love everything is ever, but the book is different than the movie. But this is one time when I actually enjoyed the movie a little bit better than the book. And his last book he ever wrote was Taps, and they should make that into a movie. Oh my God, that is the best movie. But anyway, I think next week we're going to be doing Bringing Up Baby, which is probably the most fabulous Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn comedy. I try to mix it up, and we're going through all different decades, but it's one of my favorite films, and it's about this leopard.
I
Baby
know.
is a leopard, and
I know.
I love leopards. So
I know it matches. It's a Pulpwood Queen movie, that is for sure.
And then the other ones that I have picked, and I want you to throw in something that you like. I want to do My Dog Skip. It's a family film, and I think it'd be good to watch with the whole family. And I would love to do Across the Universe, which is a film that wasn't done too many years ago, but it's a musical based on the music of the Beatles. Have you seen it?
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was wonderful.
I've seen it, I bet you 10 times. My daughters and I watched it over and over and over. And I thought that is the most brilliant screen.
I'm glad we're going to watch it again, because I only saw it once, but it was amazing.
It's absolutely. So
I might even be able to get my husband to watch that one with me.
I'm going to get it in the queue, but if there's something that you want to see,
the one that I just wanted you to do was King of Hearts.
I watched that film and I can't figure it out.
Really?
Really. It's the first time I've ever watched a film and I was it's fascinating, but I was kind of lost, and it's got a real strange humor to it. And but it was brilliant.
I mean, it's kind of saying it's in the middle of war, so
yes.
It's apropos.
I watched
and
it's
kind of saying that the people that they institutionalized in the loony bin were more had more heart and more sane in some kind of way.
Well, you know what? If I put that on there, will you lead the discussion?
Sure, I will.
Okay, because I will put it on there because I want to know more. But it reminds me of the story Carolyn Haynes told at when she said she was a big James Lee Burke fan, and she decided when she was a young girl to go down to Louisiana, and they wanted to learn how to Cajun dance, and they stayed in this fabulous bed and breakfast. She goes, you go to Mulat's over in New Orleans, and I did a children's dinner there, and we all learned how to do all the Cajun dancing. It was a blast. And you need to go down to Bow Bridge, and I have a friend that lives down there. I just heard from her today. And you need to go to this club. And they go to the club, her and her girlfriend, and these guys kept asking them to dance all night. And they said they never had more fun in there. They were so polite. They just danced. They learned how to do all the dances. But she said it was the strangest thing. None of them had any teeth. Do you remember this story? So anyway, she said when she went back to the bed and breakfast later, she was telling the lady, she goes, oh, she goes, those guys, she goes, they're from the local mental sanitarium and they go there every Saturday night. So I thought the story was hilarious because they were dancing all night with these people from this mental institute. So anyway, I'm telling a friend over in Jefferson, she goes, oh my God, my friends all went down to Bow Bridge and went to that club and they danced with these guys all night long. And they came back and they said none of them had any teeth. It wasn't, I thought 2 people have told me this story now. So that's on my bucket list to go down to Bow Bridge and go to that club and dance with the guys with no teeth. I just think
Yeah,
that's,
I mean, it's sad that if you have mental illness, you don't get dental care. I mean, that is pretty sad.
it's, there's a lot of sad things in this world, but the more we share our stories, the more we have conversations, the more we learn, and the more we have empathy and kindness and understanding. And, when I was in college, I had taken an English 2 course, and I had gone back to college, and I was 25, and the teacher was younger than me. Okay. She was just straight out of, master's. She's like probably, I don't know, 23. So she was teaching this class, and I don't know what she had wrong with her, but she walked with the arm crutches, and it was really icy one day when I came in, and she was struggling to get in and up the sidewalks and stairs. And when she turned to the class to sit down, the buttons on her shirt had come undone. And I heard this guy make some kind of remark, kid behind me make a remark. So I jumped up and I stood in front of her and I said, when you came in, these buttons came undone. Do you want me to button up? She goes, oh my God, thank you, Kathy, thank you. And I said, no problem. So I buttoned them up and she sat down, and I turned around, and these idiots on the back row, I said, what are you laughing at? And I called them out right, I was an older student. I said, if any of you think you could do better with what she has to deal with every day, I go, come up here and show me. And they never said a word after that. And we became really good friends. And we used to do a lot of things together after I was out of a class. But the thing about it is, if you see something like that, speak up. You don't have to be, I wasn't mean about it. I just said, if you think you can do better than that, don't make fun of people that are in a wheelchair or something. And I think the reason I'm this way is because my French teacher was smart enough to put me into teaching that special education class. And those kids, they were junior high and they just wanted to learn. They just loved it, and I love them. And I've always thought and I'm a little bit different. I mean, let's face it. I'm a little weird cat myself, but this is a great movie for family watching and teaching kids that, people can look different from you. A lot of our disabilities are inside and you can't see it. Some of them are on the outside, but we're all created with the same wants and needs. So be kind and yeah. So now the director, I really want to know who wrote the screenplay because it was so well done. There was a lot of humor. There was a lot of it could have gone a lot of different ways,
And you can look at it so much about her needing to heal her relationship with her father, who disowned her, really couldn't deal with her. It was just lots of healing all around. And I loved how they wove together certain themes in such a kind of seamless way.
And it was an entertaining film, but there was such resolution. And,
Yeah.
you know, I like to go to films that make you think about it after the film. I won't ever get that film out of my mind. And if you don't watch Tar Zameen Par this
I'll watch
weekend, when you watch it, you're going to be emailing me going, oh my God, oh my God. It is such a, it's just like this film, only it's a little boy. It's a
Yeah.
little boy. And he's adorable. He's adorable. And Amir Khan, everything. He's also in another educational film with two other guys that are great actors called Three Idiots, about these three guys who go to engineering school in India and how India is obsessed with when you're born, you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, you know. And so these boys go and their struggles, you know, the financial struggles, you know, it's hard, but you don't want to let your parents down. And I'm telling you, it covers all the bases. And the man who runs the school is a tyrant. And when you watch, but there's funny parts in it too, but the end of the movie will blow you away.
Well, I just do want to say to people that I so appreciate that not only are we in this group watching films from different eras, certainly different genres, but I appreciate that we're, you know, doing kind of global films. That really is important in this day and age right now. And I have to tell you that I don't really think there was that much difference, even though India is a very different culture than we are in many ways. The content of the film was extremely resonant and apropos with what I think we are living through ourselves here.
I don't think, you know, everybody thinks we're so different, but we're going by media stories that it's just like, I went to Italy and I was on a train and this guy found out we were from Texas. And actually he said something really nasty in English to my friend that was traveling with me and made her cry. And I said, what's going on? And she goes, he hates Americans because of our president. I said, oh, good grief. I said, just walk away and everything. And I said, that is ridiculous. You can't judge a people by the president or by any entity. That would be just like if, you know, you judged all religion of America like the crazy guy from Waco, you know, you know, what was his name? David Koresh, you know, that was a tangent.
Well, I think we were looking at this right now, aren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, here we are, and there's a war going on with Russia and
Oh,
for
cried
Ukraine.
and cried.
And all I
today.
want to say to you though is the Russian people, this is not their fault.
No,
This is
they
not
had a
their fault.
big rally in the St. Petersburg
I know, and they all
cathedral.
are risking their own going to jail, and I just have to say that the problems are about power and leaders. They're not about it's generally, I'm not saying never, but generally speaking, it is about the people that, you know, what is it? Power, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And this is what you have going on. And to watch everyday people fighting for their home and their land. And of course, this is, you know, maybe we resonate with these people a little bit more because they're European, but you know, this is going on throughout our world, and it is very painful.
You know what I say to people that make these rash judgments about cultures and religions and people? I go, have you been there?
Mhm.
No. And I go, what's the last book you read about that religion? Well, I haven't read anything. I go, then where are you getting your information? And then, you know, they'll tell me some. I said, you know, it's kind of like banning a book if you haven't read it. how do you ban a book if you haven't read it? I go, when Tawana and I took off across the country to deliver a painting, we went all the way up to Connecticut and back down. And and it was the time when, all this political strife was going on. I was a little worried about it and getting out. And all I found was the nicest people in the world. And I can remember being in New Jersey and I went to fill up my car and this guy came out yelling at me, stop, stop. And I go, what am I doing? He goes, you cannot fill up your car in New Jersey. And I go, what? He goes, only the attendant can fill up your car. I go, are you serious? I go, well, then get on over here, dude. He washed my window and filled up my car. I ended up having pictures taken with him. We laughed and I said, good God, in Texas, we have to do everything ourselves. And he goes, it's in New Hampshire. He was telling me all the states that have this rule. You cannot pump gas.
I know there are places. I know it's fun though, isn't it?
I don't know what he thought I was doing. I go, I'm not trying to break the rules. I didn't know, and he took pictures with me and Tawana was laughing. She goes, you are so crazy. But I'm the kind of person that if I'm in a restaurant, I was in a restaurant in West Texas and oh my God, the food was so great. And this waitress come out and I go, who's the cook here? She goes, oh, that guy over there. And I go, that guy? So I went over and I said, hey, I go, that was the best whatever I had in my life, chicken fried steak or something. He goes, how do you cook it? And he goes, well, I just cook it in. I go, can you show me? He took me back in the kitchen and we took pictures and he showed me and his day was made. I mean, his day was made. And I said, well, I'm going to tell all my friends, go to Marathon out West Texas, and you got to eat at that hotel. It's got the famous White Buffalo bar that John Wayne used to go in. And
Kathy, you love people, don't you? You just
I do. And that's why I've been going crazy because I'm stuck in here and so I get on these tangents, I'm on this tangent of India. I've got so many books I'm reading on it. So I'm funny. Now I'm into art. Now I've found out all about Morocco. And so now I'm getting kind of going down that road. There's just lots of things I want to learn. And I think that if you want to have a wonderful life, and I do, that's why I'm really trying to take care of my health and everything. And I want you to take care of your health. I'm concerned because if you throw yourself into the things that you're passionate about, it's not about money. It's not about power. It's not about being on TV. It's about sharing your story. I look forward to Saturday night every Saturday. If you're not here, I'm sad. And if Robert,
I'll be here next week for sure. The week after, I'm going to be out of town, but I have 2 weeks that I'll be out of town.
Let me know what week you'll be here so I can
next week. I'll be here next week.
I got to figure out when to do the King of Hearts movie.
No, do that later. Let's do the baby. I want to.
It's next. It's going to be Bringing Up Baby. I'm doing it.
That makes me laugh. I'm remembering it so well. And
it's hilarious because she thinks it's a pet. Oh, well, I can't tell you.
I know. I've seen the movie a couple times when I was younger.
See, that's the way. And it's so funny. National Geographic. I just got my latest. I love that magazine. Got the latest issue and it's on the tigers of India and where they are. And I'm mapping out how far is this from Mumbai? I've got to go see the tigers and the leopards and the panthers. And then, I go down one rabbit hole and then Karan Johar, who's one of the biggest film directors and done all of Shah Rukh Khan's films, just posted right before I came on that National Geographic is having this contest that said, share a video and pictures of what you're passionate about, and we'll get you on National Geographic India. And I go, is this made for me or what?
Oh, I hope you win.
I'm going to do a video tomorrow where I'm going to tell about what I've been doing with Shah Rukh Khan Fan and Book Club and the Book and Film Club and how I'm reading and stack up all the books. And I said, I'm just a small town, East Texas, grandma, but I have discovered the world through India films during COVID. So, there's probably
Oh, I want you to win. I want you
well,
to
wouldn't that be just the coolest thing?
It
But
would. You
but
deserve to win.
well, I just think the people that are put in your path are there for a reason. And we don't always have a good experience, but we learn from it. We learn from everybody. So I've come to the conclusion now, when something really goes wrong, like it has for you this week with your eye and all this stuff, it's pause for reflection. What do I need to learn from this experience?
Exactly.
And wait for it, because if you wait for it, Ruthie, that big reveal is going to happen. You go, oh, now, I was blind, but now I can see. It's not, for anybody listening out there, Ruthie's not blind. She just had a little eye problem that she had to get taken care of. But we all have little problems like that. But if we don't,
I hope it's little. We'll see.
Okay.
It's not. I'm not home free. It could move into a detached retina. So I'm very lucky at the moment that I can see anything out of that eye. So
Well, I'm going to put out into the universe.
I am.
Where's my prayer rock? That you gave me.
It's
But
okay. I got lots of those rocks. I'm going to pray
I
to.
know, but
All right. So I will see you next week with Bringing Back Baby. I don't know, is Robert coming or not coming next week?
he's on tour, so I don't know. We may have to do it without him, but I don't have a leopard. I have a cheetah, a lion, and a tiger, but I'll get creative.
You better put those stuffed animals all around when you do your video.
Oh, I will, because
You're the stager.
For people that are watching this is things that I noticed that most people don't. I watch Om Shanti Om was our first Bollywood film. We watched the Shah Rukh Khan on the fan club. And when I watched it the first time, there's a scene in it where he's pretending to be a big movie star and he's kind of faked. He's making a movie to impress this real big movie star. And he comes out as a kind of a spaghetti Western cowboy. And there's a scene in it where he fights a tiger.
And it's not a real.
It's the exact same stuffed tiger that I have in my house. And I'm going, oh my God, that's my tiger. I've had it for like 20 years and he's swinging it by the tail and wrestling with it. And I'm going, there's a reason why I watch this movie. All these things are just like puzzle pieces coming in. And what am I trying? Yeah. So for all of you out there, join the crazy Kathy and the Pulpwood Queen and Ruthie Landis as we explore films throughout the decades here in the United States and abroad. So we're having a lot of fun. If you will join and have suggestions, email me at thepulpwoodqueen@gmail.com, because I learn of some of the best films ever from people like Ruthie and Robert. I mean, I don't think I'd ever seen that. What was the film you did that was the silent film that we watched, The Wind?
Oh, that was just so beautiful.
I'd never seen that movie. So that was fascinating to me. So, but you've never seen My Dog Skip?
No.
Oh,
I'm going to watch it. It's going to be so sweet. I'm really missing having a puppy. I really am. It's the first time as an adult that I've gone without having a puppy, and I miss it. I just can't take on more than I've already got on my plate right now.
No,
so, and I've got stuffed animals, plenty of stuffed animals, so I just cuddle them up.
People go, you have a lion and a tiger and
can I just tell you something really funny before we check out? So there was an audition that I had for I think it was a commercial. It might have been a commercial, it might have been a film. And they wanted it to be really funny and everything. And so I showed up with a basket like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz with a black poodle. And I actually did have a black poodle, but I couldn't trust that she would do it.
I had one too. Coco.
For 17
years.
and mine, I've had little black poodles this big, you know, this is what I have had. So anyway, I went in there and I took it out of the basket and I did a dog training with this stuffed animal that was black poodle. And I got the job. I got the job. I mean, who would do such a crazy thing, right? Sit. What do you mean? You're not sitting. Stand, you know, like it was really roll over.
Did you
I
kick
don't know
it?
why it's not roll over.
I love it. Well,
All
I'd
right,
love-
darling. See you next week.
we will see you next week. But before you go, tell them about your beautiful sari that you have on.
Oh, yeah. So I performed a wedding ceremony as I do. And I just got a sari. One of the people I was marrying was from India. And so I bought a sari and then I just made this top and I made a skirt out of it. Real easy to do because it's the fabric that's everything.
Yes.
It's not, so literally this was like the scarf part and I just kind of cut a hole in it. And then this is really just like a square scarf.
Well, where did you get the undershirt thing?
Well, that I had to purchase. I purchased it online. You remember that show Frankie and Johnny?
Yes.
I mean, Frankie and with Lily Tomlin and Frankie and
Oh no, Gracie and Frankie.
Gracie and Frankie. So Lily Tomlin always wears these. So I
get it. I need them.
I just went online and I said mesh because it makes your arms look thinner.
And did you?
And
get
I've got it in blue.
Amazon?
I've got it in burgundy, blue, and black.
See, I need those for my saris because
Aren't they perfect? Isn't it perfect for a
it is-
sari?
it's perfect, and I love it. I'm getting out my sewing machine now, and I'm looking at everything that you've done.
Do you see? And then I
Yeah,
just
I know what you did.
see what I did? And then
Yeah.
here I just hand sewed this here like that.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's flowy, right? So it's
right.
so then you can't see
You're
any.
an Indian designer. That's fabulous. That's
You
fabulous.
learn how to hide things.
Yeah. Well,
See
and
you next week.
I come dressed like an Indian school teacher. I've got on my little elephant and my braid.
And you know what? That's what I also loved. I loved her costumes. They were still the long tunics with the pants, but they were so hip and contemporary. I love them.
I just love her. She's just
all right.
See you. I'll see you next time, and I'm praying about your eyes. Okay. I love you, Ruthie.
Love you back.
Bye, everybody. It's all about the story. Bye.